Hello, everybody. Welcome on the Lights on Data show. Today, we're going to address the topic of data observability versus data quality. Finally.
Awesome. And we have two amazing guests, Ryan and Stephanie. Ryan is Chief Marketing Officer of IBM Databand, responsible for go-to-market activities for IBM Databand, and champion of data observability for enterprise data platform and data engineering teams. Stephanie is Senior Product Manager for IBM DataStage, responsible for the product roadmap and innovation in data integration. Welcome.
How's it going? Thanks for having us. Stephanie is a lot cooler of a person than I am. That's why I have her the show today. I was like, I gotta have somebody who's cooler than me on the show, so I had to bring in Stephanie.
It's good to have both of you. And Ryan, we've seen you have some awesome YouTube videos as well, and you participate in conferences too. So can't wait to hear from both of you. So before we start, as always, please share a fun fact about yourself or a hobby.
I really like coffee. I think I like it too much. I think that I need to dial it back maybe a little bit. But I recently did a data observability and coffee show with Kate Strosny, actually, from Dedicated, and we kind of walked through all the different ways to make coffee. So if you're into coffee as well, go check out that's on the Dedicated YouTube channel. And yeah, I think I like coffee too much. I like superheroes and comics too. I think I have to. I have 3 girls, so I do a lot of princess and teas and things like that with them, which is totally fun.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, Ryan, what about Marvel versus DC? Do you pick a
Oh
side?
man, we take up the entire
Nice.
show on this discussion.
Nice.
I would say Marvel has definitely done a very good job with all the movies.
Yeah.
But I like the DC comics better than Marvel.
Yeah.
Like Batman. I sound like such a nerd right now, but like Batman is by far has the best comic book series, villains, hero, the whole universe of Batman is 10 times better than anything else out there. In my opinion.
Well, those are cool comics to observe. There you go. Trying to tie it in.
We can have a show on that.
Yeah.
Superheroes and data. All right. And Stephanie?
Speaking of coffee, I've been taking up surfing. So typically I've been going down to Costa Rica. And part of that ritual is always like coffee and getting a chance to enjoy that fresh mountain coffee from Costa Rica. But yeah, like anytime that I can just step away for a bit from like technology and things like that and just hang out in the water, love doing that. So definitely recommend. And for all those folks that can take advantage of water sports, like definitely take it up. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree. I was mentioning to Stephanie before the show that I try to surf too. It's but I really, honestly, I love getting hit by those waves and really trying to go against them and like just to make it out there for afterwards to try and ride them. Like that's the fun part too.
Absolutely. I can't say I'm good. It's definitely also trying, but it's definitely the, just repetitive process and just waves are going to keep coming. So yeah, there's always another one.
No, I agree.
All right. Yeah. So data observability.
Yeah.
What is data observability and how does it differ from data quality?
Yeah, I think that, data observability is this category it's very much, I would say, still in its infancy. I mean, it's on hype cycles here and there and different analyst reports you would read. It's gaining traction more and more. I talk about it more and more. Customers are asking about it, both, in Stephanie's use cases and on her side and also on my side, around the whole data quality world. And it's really an evolution of data quality. It's not something that is going to replace data quality as we know it today. It's just another leg or another layer to it. And so when I talk about data observability, a big thing is I try to make connections with people already know. And so, and a lot of other vendors do the same thing, which I think is helpful for the industry and everyone. But you say, hey, you understand, you heard of companies like Datadog and Instana and New Relic. What do? They're all about monitoring your application infrastructure as it's in production, right? And it'll tell you when things go bad as it's running in production. It's great for DevOps teams, CI/CD teams. call that, right? Well, if you just apply that same concept to data pipelines or data tables or data sets, that's what data observability is. It's literally just an umbrella term that's trying to alert you when there's issues in your pipeline processes, data tables, and tell you exactly where that issue is and the root cause of it so you can resolve it quickly and not have it impact the business down the line. So I like to say that data observability is just like application observability in terms of the core concepts of it, but you're really focusing on the data itself, the data pipelines, data sets, rather than an application infrastructure like Instana.
Okay. So is it fair to say then data quality kind of just looks at the data at rest, so the data and the data sets, whereas data observability kind of addresses data throughout, like you said, the data pipelines and that whole ecosystem?
Steph, did you want to take that one? Is that?
Yeah, that's so as far as quality goes, I think there's a couple of things. A lot of folks that are doing the actual transformations or assessing data quality, engineers by trade. I'm an engineer by trade. It's very much a set of things that you can measure: completeness, validity, accuracy, and things like that. But for a business, it is really simple. Is this data something that I can actually use for my business? Is it ready for decision making? So I almost think of data quality as another layer of information about your data or metadata. And it does factor into your pipelines. Like you will have a pipeline that helps to take data from its raw state into its state that's ready for the business to use. And so that's kind of, it's almost a Venn diagram where data observability is one layer, data quality is another, and there's absolutely pieces that are part of both. Ultimately, both are really important for an organization.
All right. And, that's what we're also having questions from the audience now on. Dan Everett is wondering, so lineage, data flow mapping, and quality monitoring, does it include all of that?
Yeah, I think that so, and this is where, and I'll just be very honest, like the industry is still trying to understand how to fit data observability into all the words that gentleman just asked, because what's going on in the market, if you look at like even how Databand messages, how Monte Carlo, which is like a vendor that competes with us, Excel Data, Datafold, some of these other other vendors in the data observability space, which you'll see a lot of times will use words like data quality, data reliability, data lineage, impact analysis, tracking your data flows, things like that. Like, and the reason why we're using that language is because data observability isn't something that's readily available. Like when we're talking to people, they're trying to articulate problems they're having with data quality, but they may be actually talking about a data observability problem, not a traditional data quality problem. So we have to ask some questions like, hey, how are you monitoring your data at rest or in motion? Are you just monitoring it at rest, or are you monitoring as it's moving through the pipeline? Is that a problem that you're facing today? And they'll say, yeah, we were told that, we're not aware of critical pipelines that go down until, an hour or 3 hours later, or we had no idea there was a schema change that was changed in a pipeline that was transmitting it until, the weekend. We got woken up at 3 o'clock at night to fix it, right? Or the data never got to the dashboard. So
yeah,
there's a lot of things that are like Stephanie had said, like there's like kind of like this Venn diagram that comes together. But I would say data observability, the core component of it, what it's doing is it's looking at data as it's in motion and giving you real-time data around the incident that's occurring, so you can act on it in a break fix model to fix it right away and then continue.
Nice. See, in a way, whenever I hear about data observability, when I first encountered it, I was thinking of data quality management 2.0, sort of the natural evolution of data quality management, something that needed to be addressed. So I don't know if like Stephanie said, there are maybe some different things, or do you think it's that natural progression that we are seeing from data quality management, but it really needed its own marketing?
Yeah, so for that one, I think that there's a, like you said, in organizations, there has been data governance practices that have come about because of things like regulations and understanding where data is coming from, things like having to manage sensitive data and knowing that you're maintaining data sovereignty. But if you think about all of those things, they do tie into observability because, like, for example, for sensitive data discovery, with GDPR, CCPA, and other regulations, it became really important to know where data was going. Data observability allows you to take a look and see where data is going, and is data actually getting there, along with all the other metrics and things like that. Data quality allows you that layer of understanding of what's the actual data that's going across. Like, what Ryan said, I think we're still in that area of understanding how do these things come together and how do you unite those two different layers. So I think it's a really exciting space, and we're still learning a lot. And we can absolutely learn from all of these practices that organizations already have within across business and the technical side.
That's so much more clear, Stephanie. Thank you so much for that. And I want to add this comment.
Well, I was just going to say just one more thing about that. It too is that just to back up what Stephanie was saying, we're actually seeing people or other vendors that were traditionally only talking about data quality now combining the terms of data quality and observability, because they're also trying to figure out how do you blend these two things together, knowing that there's been tools out there and solutions out there that have been focused on traditional data quality that Stephanie had talked about. Now here comes observability. They both come together. They're both they're both complementary. So like that's why you see certain observability tools are partnering with data cataloging tools, right? Because they know they don't do all the stuff that data catalog does, and data catalog doesn't do all the stuff that observability does. Same thing with us. Like we have a solution called Watson Knowledge Catalog that does a lot of traditional data quality stuff, and Stephanie's product as well with Quality Stage does traditional data quality things, but they don't always do the things that observability does. So when we go in and have conversations, we can talk about both sides of the coin when we're having client discussions.
Yeah. Well, Gordon Hamilton here has a couple of comments in addition to what both of you said, and he's mentioned that data observability is a layer or fabric to let you know about pipeline health. And a great way to scaffold up
I like this.
to a data catalog, and also a great way to plug in your data quality rules discovered in critical tables after profiling.
Ooh, I like Gordon. I love this.
Yeah.
This is great. I like the scaffolding approach. This is good. I like that.
Gordon,
I would agree with what you said.
Dataquality.ca.
Yeah, I love it.
All right. So Dan Everett here has a question. How does it relate to business outcomes? For example, sustainable and ethical sourcing is becoming a brand differentiation. Can data observability help brands provide transparency into the actions of suppliers, perform auditing, and just better govern their supply chains?
Yeah, I think I'll talk from the observability angle, and then Stephanie, you can chime in on just kind of about other solutions to this. But we've had clients or customers rather, for example, where they've had multiple different, you would say, different clients that they need to support through either a monitoring or observability lens for the applications or pipelines or processes that are going on in that organization. And so one of the things that like data observability can do and Databand can do is that we keep logs of all the things that have gone on in data incident management. So one of the things we talk a lot of times is about data issues, data incidents, and how do you collect all those kind of in one place and categorize them and show, hey, here's the root cause of this, and then assign severities to it, assign alerts to that, so you can go and resolve those right away. But it also acts as like a historical record of all the things that have gone on, so that if you need to pull up why a pipeline failed 3 months ago and what was the root cause of that, you can do that. So there are some incident management capabilities for that type of auditing or logging for that type of a scenario that was described. But I know there's a lot of other things that other traditional data quality tools do as well.
Yeah, I think just to piggyback off what Ryan shared, data is at least for this interaction between an organization and their business partners, you have to establish things like trust in the product that you're providing, or in that case, it could be data sets or an application or something like that. When you think about traditional data quality, you can establish a scorecard. A scorecard could be, for example, all of those things I mentioned before: completeness, accuracy, validity, or it could be customized based on things like data rules. So you can surface that as a part of also, making sure that the data is coming in on time when you need it. So when do you deliver this report? Is it a nightly feed or things like that? I talk about this often with customers who do have this kind of exchange, and what their business partners ask for is this kind of a view of what does data look like and how can they make sure that they can use it for their own consuming applications. So it's really a number of layers, and it's really tough because you want as much automation around this as possible. And there's things like self-service that comes into it. I think we're really seeing the shift, and have seen this over the past couple of years, of clients that provided more static reports versus now you want to be more dynamic. You want folks to build their own data products and have this kind of self-service model. So it makes this kind of trust even more important. So I think organizations are really struggling to shift because they want this kind of report card available. So that's something that we've really been seeing and looking at.
Yeah, the report card thing's awesome. I think that when we talk to customers as well, besides the report card aspect, they're asking for, hey, what are some data SLAs that I can map back to my observability solution to make sure that I'm meeting those data SLAs? And so we have a customer that they basically said that every time there's a data incident, they have 80% of their issues are from the ingestion layer, and then the rest of them are from the transformation layer. And so what they can do is they can categorize their data, service level agreements in both areas and have that traceability back to saying, okay, why do we keep having, a huge uptick in the ingestion layer versus the transformation layer? And let's figure out how to solve these issues, because when things are coming in, we want to make sure that we can identify and resolve them right away so that there's not any hit to our data SLAs in both of those particular categories, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So with Databand, then I know you are offering a lot of services for data observability, data pipeline monitoring, data quality monitoring, anomaly detection. Are you offering those scorecards as off the bat piece that clients could just implement?
For Databand, we have data SLA alerting and reporting, and also in executive dashboards, things like that. So if you go to Databand.ai, you can see some of those in action. We've got some videos on there as well. But on the report card side, that's where our, when we talked about earlier about you have data observability solutions talking and integrating with more of the catalog solutions that are out there. For us, it's would be like WKC. That's where like a lot of the report card functionality comes into play. And Stephanie can talk more about that, but that would be more of like a WKC Watson Knowledge Catalog.
Yeah. Susan Walsh here, the classification guru, is mentioning, it's still important to have that human check on the automation piece, or otherwise you could spiral quickly. What are your thoughts on that? Do you have the human factor that works together with the Databand platform? And
I can talk from what we do in terms of the resolution component. So there's been, in some solutions do this, Databand doesn't do this currently, and it's because we've had questions about it. When we dig into the customer's request, they actually go, I don't want to do that. But there's a discussion around like, hey, can I automate a circuit breaker scenario where let's say a pipeline is executing and something happens to it and I want to kill that pipeline immediately. I want Databand to go and do that. And a lot of times it's like, well, if you do that, like, have you thought about the implications like downstream if you were to do that? How about you manually investigate it first? Because the amount of times where you've had an alert happen, you go look at it and go, okay, I'm glad I didn't kill that pipeline just because it's based off of something else, right? So I think I totally agree with that statement about how automation could be a problem in that particular area. The other area is that when we do more around the automated anomaly detection, we can set anomaly thresholds and detection levels that are based off of prior look backs into seeing like what does right look like when it comes to data sets and pipelines. And so you can control that automation piece when it comes to like how that model is learning the anomaly detection, so that you're not just saying, oh, go give me some anomalies right away. It's like, well, hold on, let's go ahead and tell it exactly what to look at, and then we can start to baseline some of these anomaly detection that goes on.
Yeah, if I might add to that, one totally a really important point, and where you can focus on automation, at least for things like the data quality side of things, is allowing a steward or a business user to be able to prioritize what are the top issues and then be able to dive into the least important issues. So automation could help. I was working with a customer who, big data, they have a really extensive catalog, and they wanted to do metadata tagging. And a part of that is obviously taking a look at data quality. So you want to do automation as much as possible, because if you were to go in and try to manually update how business metadata relates to the technical assets, you could be doing that for years and really not be able to make a dent, especially with how much data is growing. So automation in that case is meant to, there are thresholds that you can set. Like, for example, within Watson Knowledge Catalog, there are thresholds that you can set. And then based on that, go ahead and prioritize based on the things that are tied to the highest impact data. And that's something that only the business can tell. How much is this bit of data? How much is it worth? Customer data, like something like email, which is important for matching, is much more important than some other description or text field that might not be used ever. So yeah, it's super important to have that tie-in and automation to augment what users have to do on a daily basis.
Nice. I just wanted to take a step back. I'm curious, you talked about accuracy and timeliness and so on, and I wanted my question was, how do you measure observability? So what would be the metrics for that?
Metrics. So you're talking about like how Databand would like measure like the things kind of going on in your data space. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah. So how basically how do we know that we have a good data observability?
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I mean, I'll tell you like how it works, and then I'll kind of walk back from there. So I mean, and most solutions are like this, but it's first thing is you got to collect the metadata that's in all your different areas of your environment, right? So I mean, if you are only looking at, let's say, a warehouse for data issues or data quality issues, to us, in our point of view, that's not a continuous approach. You need to have a continuous approach to data observability. So you got to start more on the left side. You got to shift left your data observability to some degree. So that starts at like the ingestion layer. So ingestion, orchestration, transformation, and then consumption. So when we look at that, what we're doing is we're saying, hey, collect all the metadata from things like your Airflow pipelines, your Spark processes, maybe your DBT jobs, maybe some Python pipelines. All those things, collect all that metadata, and then what you want to do is start setting baselines around the way that they're supposed to act, or that we know the way they're supposed to act. That's where the anomaly detection comes into play. So anomaly detection is something that, again, just about the look backs. You can look back on different data sets, different pipelines, and see kind of what we expect it to be. Then we set in alerts and categorize them based off of the most critical pipelines and processes that are going on. So for data observability to be measured properly is you got to understand I don't want to be woken up at 3 a.m. for a low severity data issue. That's not a good thing. I don't want to have all these alerts. Like, one of the big problems people talk to us about is they can't separate the noise from the things they need to actually do.
Mm-hmm.
And so bad implementation of observability would be, it's just a bunch of monitoring alerts that are firing off all the time everywhere, and it's a Slack channel, and you want to just like jump off a bridge because you can't stand all your Slack notifications that you're getting, right? So that would be bad. So you want to then classify these as like, yes, these are the most critical alerts that we want to have. And then you would do triage of alerting the right team at the right time in the right place. So that's, hey, I want to alert this data engineering team in this group. I want to alert them at this particular time, either real time or as a delay, depending on the severity of the issue. And then I want to route it in a communication channel that they can get to it, know what the root cause is, jump to the issue and resolve it. And that's through like chat ops channels like OpsGenie and Slack and email and things like that.
Nice. That's a tool that every organization should have. And
Yeah.
that brings me
We think so, George. We think so.
Good. Well, we need to get more people on board, but this brings up to a comment here, and there's a side conversation happening in the comments here on how one would start with data observability. And David Trott is wondering, how do customers typically start their data observability solution journey?
Great question.
Yeah, I think the first thing that we do is, like, when we talk to customers, when they come to us, there's like very, very clear things of what's going on. It's like, one, they don't know what they don't know. And two is like they are taking a long time to resolve issues. So one's a detection issue, one's a resolution issue. So what we say is, hey, let's start with the most popular, error-prone solution that is causing you to not be able to detect things and taking you a long time to resolve things. Most of the time, that's going to be an orchestration tool, like something like, or transformation tool like DBT or Airflow or DataStage, something like that, because it's pumping so much data through these different pipelines. So we start with a small set of that. Most of the time, it's be an Airflow, a bunch of Airflow jobs we would look at, and that's where we'd begin. Then we would kind of creep more into the right side of the equation and add more and more layers of observability as you go through your data processes. So first thing is, you got to understand, like, if things are not moving, if data is not moving, or it's delayed, or there's latency, or whatever is going on, that's the biggest thing that's going to blow up the entire process. You've got to start there. Seth, what would you say?
Yeah, so the product that I manage, DataStage, is exactly in this business of providing transformed data. And what we've seen our clients do, and this goes for more than just DataStage, it's really if you're doing any Python or building any Spark pipelines and things like that, is folks typically create their own scripts or things to start to understand what exactly is going on. Because like Ryan said, you don't want an alert every time a pipeline fails. It's only for certain pipelines that you want to actually configure, hey, my team is going to get that ping overnight so that they know what exactly they need to open up, whether that's overnight or first thing in the morning. So I think that's where clients typically start their journey, is they already have some experience with building these homegrown solutions to managing their data pipelines. So now that we have, and Ryan mentioned it before, we're on the hype cycle, and we have really fantastic solutions like Databand to help. They already have this kind of historical knowledge of what are the pipelines that are most important. And they really love the idea of having this kind of anomaly detection or other things that are inbuilt to the platform that they can then translate and lay on top of whatever they've built already. So it's really the supplementing. And I think a lot of folks don't think that they're on their data observability journey already, but really they have been for many years. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point, Steph.
Do you have any thoughts on what strategies organizations can implement to ensure both data quality and data observability, that they are both effectively managed within their data ecosystem? And this comes from Matteo Carloni.
We're actually creating a white paper on this as we speak. So, Matteo, I'll send it to you whenever we're done. Yeah, I mean, this is kind of like a loaded question here. I mean, I would say that we could send a bunch of stuff, but and I don't want to sound jargony here either, where it's like people, processes, and tools. That's what you should do. But it is kind of all that. I would say, like, you know, the observability and data quality ecosystem, I think, is gonna eventually blend and merge together as this one thing. It could just be called data quality, and observability is like a capability of data quality. Who knows? I don't know exactly where it's gonna go, but with augmented data quality coming out as well, that's another big thing that people are gonna be. I think observability is going to be a part of that, no matter what. It's going to be a core capability of that, like, coming out. So you could see a whole new category around augmented data quality and observability being a part of that. And then you'd have to look to see, like, what are the current pain points you all have, and start, you know, piece by piece to understand, you know, in your data quality journey, where you're going to start and where you're going to finish, because it's a long journey. Yeah. Just like development and data, it's the same thing. It takes a long time to get to where you're at.
Thanks, Ryan. I think we need to have you back on the show to address some of these questions in more detail. I know there are quite a few that we won't have time to get to. But as we're coming to an end here, I just wanted to pick this other one from Ravit, just to kind of clarify it all, you know, wrap it all together. Data observability versus data quality, right? It's not really, they're not against each other. There were some comments happening on that. They're not, you know, DC versus Marvel here. They are working together. There is that overlap that Stephanie mentioned. But let's clarify, does data observability help with data quality?
Yes, it does. The answer is yes. And I will just say, there's also there's been crossovers in the past with DC and Marvel coming together in comic book series back in the day. So that's still a thing that goes out. But no, I mean, yeah, and we titled this show data observability versus data quality on purpose, because we wanted to say that no, there isn't this versus thing going on. It's just the fact that there's a lot of the same language being used, because this category isn't at a point where it is a pure standalone, because we know every time we go into conversations, it's data observability plus all this other data quality stuff that they want to do. And we're a piece of a much larger discussion around data quality, for sure.
Can we just take one more question here from Kingsley? I think it's very pertinent. So the concept of data observability is so interesting. Kingsley is mentioning, who will be primarily responsible for this job? Who within the organization, what roles are looking into data observability, practicing data observability, taking care of it? Who's using these platforms?
I've been talking a lot, so Stephanie, do you want to answer this? I mean, I'm happy to answer it too. But.
Yeah, I'll answer it from the data literacy side of things. I think within many of the customer conversations that I have, it's how do we enable more of this data product consumption? So whether that's like a report and taking that, or maybe it's a machine learning model and things like that. So to be able to consume any of those things, you do need a base layer of literacy. Like, how do you actually understand these different reports and things like that, and where data is coming from? So I do think data observability is going to have to play a big role in part of the learning that really anybody within an organization should know. So absolutely add it to the list. For folks that, you know, I talk to on a day-to-day basis, which is folks that are tasked with building pipelines, data observability is, like I said before, something that they inherently understand, but being able to use these new tools so that they really can speed up things like, you know, what Ryan said, mean time to resolution for understanding why something is going wrong, and then fix and make sure that everything is up and running. That's really going to be powerful. The folks that are really tasked with this on the customer side are the administrators, or the folks that are really managing these platforms. And then the different owners that, for example, own making sure customer data is available, or building reports on top of product sales and things like that. So, yeah.
Nice. Well,
How about you,
here's a new
Ryan?
title that Gordon is recommending: Data Reliability Engineers, or
Ooh.
Dre's, or as Susan
Yeah.
is mentioning, Dr. Dre's. There.
Yeah, data reliability engineers are basically, yeah, you're exactly right. Just like software reliability engineering, data reliability engineering. Data reliability engineering, I'm not sure is like a core, I guess, position in a lot of organizations today. I think that falls a lot of times to the data engineering teams, the data platform team, and analytics engineering team, which is most of people that, as Stephanie said, most people that we usually will intro into for data observability. But yeah, if that Dre is something that grows and grows and grows, then 100% that would be somebody that is would be tasked with number one person to talk to for data observability, because that's their job, basically.
Yeah. And Sushma has a good point that she believes it shouldn't just be between engineers, but also the business stakeholders, because ultimately it's building trust in data and have it better organized. It's a team effort of both the tech and the business users.
Yep.
Yeah.
Love it.
Right on, Sushma.
Well said.
Well, thank you very much for being here, and thank you very much for all the insights. So again, people can follow you on LinkedIn, correct?
Yep.
And I know that on the website you have also some free resources on databand.ai. There's also some links to some interesting videos and discussions that you also had, the one that you mentioned with Kate from DataCated. What else?
That's, I mean, those are probably the main places to go to. We'll be at the DBT conference in October. We'll be at Airflow Summit, Big Data London. So if you're at any of those conferences coming up, please come by and just say hey, and we'd love to talk to you.
Looking forward to it. And I know definitely we're going to hang out a little bit at Big Data London too in September.
Yeah. Awesome. Looking forward to it. Everyone, thank you very much for being so engaged today and for the wonderful comments and the questions. And thank you again to our wonderful guests for being here. Have an awesome weekend.
Thanks, everybody.
Take care.
Thanks, Ryan. Thanks, Stephanie.
Thanks
Cheers.
so much.